All right, so Cloud9 IDE is a end-to-end development solution that's entirely web-based. So if you do your programming, you can actually access your code from any modern browser, from anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. And it's not like a watered-down editing JS fiddle thing. It's like not to speak bad about them, but it's a full-blown IDE solution. And that means that you can do things like import your code from GitHub, from Bitbucket. You can do all of your development in an editor that has syntax highlighting for up to, I think, 30 languages. And you can also run and debug node.js code right in the browser. It's really cool. And then as of yesterday, we now have 3 deployment partners you can deploy your code to. Heroku joins node.de service, and now Microsoft Windows Azure you can deploy your code to and make it come to life in the cloud. But one of the things that we don't have that we've been working really hard on is testing. And that's one of the pillars of development that every developer knows that they have to do, but it's a huge pain in the ass. So the problem with it is that it makes it so you don't have critical bugs that land in your live application. It just rounds out the kind of process. It makes you really confident in your code. But it's so boring to do that nobody really wants to do it. And so what I'm going to be previewing today is something that I think is super compelling and really makes the process fun and makes your application better. Okay, so what do I mean by this? So the first thing is what Cloud9 allows you to do is run unit tests. And I'm going to show you a new user interface we've been working on that allows you to create Selenium tests right from the browser. We're going to give you a full interface for managing all those different components. And the fourth thing I'm going to show you is how we've integrated with Sauce Labs. Okay, so I'm just going to go right into it. So this is the IDE. Let me make sure. Okay, so the first thing here is that let's say you're creating an application that has an HTML page. You've got the thing open in your browser, and you've edited the whole thing together. And just for time purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and show you first what it's like to preview that file. So we allow you to actually preview this file. This happens to be just a really simple tab-based thing that we set up. You can kind of go through the tabs and move this thing around or do whatever. Just a really simple interface. So what happens if you're creating this application and you wanted to test it? So we have this panel on the left here that kind of goes through your development workflow. So I talked earlier about if you have an application, you can run and debug it in the browser. That's for Node.js code. That's here in the run panel. But I'm going to show you, of course, the testing panel. So what we want to do here is we want to create a new Selenium test. Now this opens up an interface where obviously you see on the right here that you can put in it's an embeddable iframe thing. So we'll copy the URL here and paste it into the thing. It'll load it up. Okay, so here is the interface. And what do we want to do when we want to create a Selenium test? Well, first I'm just going to click record here. And you'll see in the middle here, what it'll do is it'll actually show you all the different elements that you're clicking on and what kind of interaction you're doing with them. So you can see each letter that I've typed in there. Go to the second tab, move this around, go back to the first, click an item, and then click stop. And you can see as I move over all these different items that it's recorded and all the values associated with those items, that it actually highlights it over here. Right? You can rearrange them. You can change the values. Let's say, for instance, that you wanted to put in a hold here for, I don't know, a couple seconds for some reason. I'm going to put that actually between H and E. So I'm going to save this test. Let's say meetup, that test, right? Okay, so now I've got that saved. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this. I think this is all right. And what will happen is a new browser will open, and we can actually see it run through all the tests. What you'll notice is that right after the H, when this all loads up, is it'll wait for a couple seconds and continue with the test. As we go back here, now we arranged some things, so it looks like one of the values didn't pass, or got 110. Maybe we gotta fine tune that a little bit. But anyway, so you get a full, report of all the different things that happened during that interaction period. Now what I'm gonna do, I just realized that I forgot to say that all this is beta software. And so there's a little bit of a bug that I have to restart the browser to accommodate for.
It's a demo.
It's a demo. Okay, so here we have our list of all the different tests that I've run before. You'll notice that we have these icons. These are the UI tests, the Selenium tests, and then these are just regular unit tests. So what I'm going to do here is show off our awesome new integration that we're working on with Sauce Labs. So here with the run configuration for Selenium, we can choose to run this locally, obviously, is what I've been doing. But now I'm going to show what it's like to work with Sauce Labs. So you can choose the different values for operating system and for browser. And we've got that all set up. And now, so what this is doing is it's actually using, I think I'll talk about later, but node.js utility that is contacting the Selenium server on Sauce Labs, and it's telling Sauce Labs to run all these different tests, and we'll actually get the same report back that we did locally, that it's running in the cloud. So you can imagine the kind of possibilities this opens up. You can develop all this stuff in one IDE and test it on all these different browsers and then get a report back. But that's not really the coolest part of this whole thing. I'm going to show you in a second once this all finishes up, and I think because we're on guest internet it's taking a little bit longer, but okay, beta. We're having some issues with the page loading up initially, but obviously that's not that important here. So we're getting back some results from all the different sections of the test, showing us whether they failed or passed. And now it's quitting. And then after this is done, you actually get back a movie of the entire process and it happened on Sauce Labs' server, and you can play it directly in Cloud9. Let's make sure all this is sized properly. You can make this full screen. I'll skip forward here so we don't have to wait for it to start up. So you can see here all the results of the testing that you were doing locally running in the cloud within, that literally took 30 seconds or something like that. So I think that's pretty incredible. Thank you, Adam. Okay, so what did I hear clap? I agree. So what's going on in the background here, just a little bit of technical detail real quick, is Adam, of course, from Sauce Labs, you know him, and Ruben from our side worked on this, along with Peter Braden, who fixed a number of bugs here. This is the Node.js driver that we're using. Cloud9 is completely driven by Node.js on the back end, so this is what we're using to interact with Sauce Labs. This is just the start of the interaction. We're just getting started. We're going to iron out these bugs and get it working really smoothly, and then you'll be able to do all this from Cloud9 within the next couple of months. That's it. Yeah.
How would you set up a continuous integration build with this?
Okay, so first thing I should let you guys know about, I didn't work on the code side of this. But we do have Ruben and Adam who can tell you a little bit about the details of the finer points of that thing. So, but could you repeat the question again?
The question was, how would you set up a continuous integration build
So the question was, how could you set up a continuous integration build? Yeah, I'm gonna have Ruben come up here and help me out with some of the questions.
It generates a script. In this case, a script, a Node.js-based script. So you can just hook that into your continuous integration server, whatever you're using, to run that. So it's a very manageable system that just hooks in if you want to. You can also keep the format as it is right now, so you can keep it editable, which is currently a JSON format, and then there's just a player script that can parse that and you hook that into your continuous integration solution. Okay, so the question is whether or not you can get into a WebDriver or you have to use the UI to basically manage your test. So you can actually convert them to the script, and then you have your script, and you can edit the script, but going back from the script to the UI is hard. We have actually some people working for us that are really, really good sort of language parsers and language analyzers. So we're working on seeing if we can actually go back and forth, but that's not what we're doing right now.
It's language independent.
You can actually convert it to many different languages. Yeah, this is just a declarative syntax.
So the question is about, right now we're supporting Node.js debugging and running in the client. This is kind of separate from the Selenium stuff, but what other languages are we going to support in the future? And our approach right now is for web development languages like PHP and Ruby and Java. And those are things that we're working on within the next 3 to 4 months, I think is
6 months.
6 months, okay. So, the software development world, you should buffer. And, but yeah, so our Node.js support is just like, a knockout thing. It's like, it's the best in the industry, we think. So, but yeah, then we'll expand that out to include other languages soon.
So what we didn't show here is, but you can actually hit record multiple times and we'll create actually separate tests. You can also, of course, create tests in multiple files. What you can do is you can mix and match them. So you can just call different tests from within the runner, so you can sort of stack them and create your own flow and have a much better reusability than you would otherwise have. I'm not extremely familiar with the page object model, but what I understand from it is that it offers a similar style of functionality, but because we're all converting stuff to JavaScript, it's very easy to mix and match them. So the question is whether or not we run into timing issues when hitting playback. And I think we solved most of them. So we do track the time, we do execute in an optimized fashion. You can actually run in real time as well. But what we do track, especially for the tests that you've seen so far, is some of the interactions that take longer time. So we notice when, for instance, set timeouts are used, or when other constructs like HTTP requests are used, and we actually wait until some of the things return. So your question is whether or not the tests sleep to run at the same or wait the same time. So currently no. Like what you've seen is all maximum speed, but there is a setting to actually be able to do that, where you would also, because for instance, one of the things that we don't execute right now is the mouse movements. But for some certain tests, that's something that you would like to have, and you can actually toggle that on, and then the mouse movements can go into at the same speed as you recorded it. So we have all that information, but we're not using that for this playback. Good question. He asks if we plan to have live video, and yes. When we're launching this, in probably 2 months from now, we will have live video, so you can actually see it playing back right when the test is running. Yes. So the question is whether or not we run Node.js in the browser, and the question is no. So this is a browser-based IDE, so the UI obviously runs in the browser and you can access it just on the domain, and you have your projects in the cloud. Now when you hit run or debug, the Node.js runs in the server, we spin up a VM for you, and we connect to it to debug and these type of things. So it's really Node.js.
Yeah, so I guess it's JavaScript and HTML on the client side, and then Node.js is completely on the server. You can actually do a lot of Node.js execution in the browser through this utility called Browserify, but that's just limited, so we make sure it's all on the server and you can interact with it that way. And what that also allows you to do is you can keep your scripts running on the server, and if you happen to get disconnected to Cloud9 for any reason, your internet drops or something, your process is still running and you can come back online and then it's reconnected and synced up. So.
All right, thank you very much, Ruben,
Thanks.
Matt. Fantastic.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, good night. Thank you. Sure.